Hi, everyone. I thought I was going to do this confidence in communication thing around argument on Zoom, but I changed my mind, and here we are in StreamYard. I hope that this is easier for everybody. Um, I want to talk to you about something that's very critical to peace, to negotiation, to making ourselves heard and understood, and also to self-confidence and self-respect. So let me get started here. If you've been in an emotional place, and we all have, where you're in an argument with somebody, you get into a situation where you get totally triggered, and you just want to scream. That is common, right? And so we're like, I've got to win this argument. I've got to make my point made. I've got to get myself heard. And here's where the tough part is, I've got to have this person agree with me. And that's where you don't really have the control. You can have a lot of mastery. I was going to say some mastery, but you can have a lot of mastery in that area. But in the ultimate last moment, you cannot make somebody agree with you, right? So when we go into an argument and we're sort of thrust into this situation in which we're emotionally triggered, and the only thing we know how to do is like the fight or flight thing. So some people will sort of deep six their self-confidence by fighting really hard, and then the other person, if they're stronger, this person has to give in. And the more times you do that, the more times you go, oh, it's just not worth the argument. That one is a very common one. I know I've been there, way more than once. And it's like, oh, it's just that the argument isn't worth it. Well, what about when the argument is worth it? Because when you keep telling yourself, oh, it's not worth it, and you come back for another argument, oh, it's not worth it. You come back for another, there's clearly something that you feel is important that you need to share, that you need to have heard. What if you're on the other side of the statement? What if you are the person who is controlling? What are you winning? You are getting somebody to capitulate, but is that really what you want? And is that really going to reward you? Is that really going to help you? So I want to talk to you about what it really takes to win an argument. And I am not talking about you getting to be right over that other person. I want to talk to you about something you've probably not thought about before or heard about before. You may have, but I don't hear it talked about. And it's about being right within your own self. And here's how you do that. Here's how I win an argument. I come out of every argument or disagreement feeling good about me. Here's how I do that. Let's say that I have somebody that I'm arguing with and I love them very much. Or I'm not arguing, maybe I know that I have to have a very difficult conversation. I know they're going to get triggered, and I know we're both going to get triggered, and I know we're going to be in this big argument. And I don't want to go there, but I do need to say what I need to say. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get as clear as I can get about what it is that I need to say. Here's the trick with that. Yes. Hi, honey. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, I need to get super, super clear. And when I say super clear, what I'm talking about is I have to leave out of it. I have to find a way to take out of it any desire to make you wrong. What? Then how are we having an argument? Exactly. Let me explain. So if you have really, really hurt my feelings, all right, there are so many ways you can hurt my feelings, right? You can say something about, oh, I don't know, let's pick something that's not that critical. Like you say something about what I'm wearing and you go, God, that looks awful on you. And I'm like, oh, man, that hurt my feelings. How could you say, I love this dress? I've gained weight and I feel bad about myself. So that's one level of being triggered. A worse level is if somebody has lied to you or has really, just has really broken your trust. That's a whole different level. Either way, get clear about what the bottom line is for you. So the bottom line for me in the trust breaking is to name it. You really want to name what's happening. So you can say, here is my experience. Here's what happened over here. Okay, in the land called Lori, here is what happened. I expected this. You gave me a lie. You broke my trust. And now I feel incredibly frightened and angry. And I want to know what the heck is going on here. Why did you do that? What is happening here? And in coming at it with that sense of exploration, of opening the door to hold a vessel, a space, to say, there's something here. There could be something here that I don't understand. Now, that's not making yourself wrong at all. That's saying, I'm opening a space here for you to say something that may make this better. Maybe you're going to tell me that somebody slipped you a Mickey. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're going to say that you realized what you did and it was because of XYZ and you're so sorry and you genuinely are sorry and I can feel that. That's something that falls into that space. And I can say, wow, thank you so much, because really I want to trust you. I always have trusted you. And then you move on to deciding what the two of you are going to do better next time, right? What is that person going to do so they don't lie to you, they don't break your trust next time? And what are the boundaries that you're laying down right now? What are you going to say to this person about, look, this is a deal breaker for me. If this goes on like repeatedly, I won't be able to be your friend. You have to know what your boundaries are. You have to be able to set that. Now, what if you are in a situation where you are in an argument, let's say with somebody you work with or with your boss or something? There's something else that you have to know. You have got to know what your bottom line is for what you want and who you want to be at the end of that conversation. Let me just give you a really as thorough an example of that as I can with just how I do it. And it's not always what you do, but why you did it. Really, really good point. There's so much. You're so right. In why we do what we do, why we say what we say. And it's not just black and white. It just isn't. So we have to make that space for somebody to be able to say what they need to say. We have to be able to find that place where we can be afraid, but breathe into it and stick around, like not run away. It takes practice, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And thank you for that comment. It's quite brilliant and quite true. So to go to, like, I had an experience in this last year where I had a boss and my boss's boss, and they were both really wanting me not to be there, really not wanting me to be at the company. And instead of just talking to me and saying that and saying, we don't appreciate like who you are there, they sort of went on a bit of a vendetta to see if they could find a way to get me out. And I was accused of things, and things were blown out of proportion, and it was tough. My bottom line in any kind of dispute, any kind of thing like that, is I need to know my truth. I need to be always going towards what is going to bring the greatest peace. So I'm not going for what is going to give me mine. I'm going for what is the actual core of this situation and how can we each come out of this the better for it. That's a really high standard to hit, right? I mean, that really, you have to make room for a lot in order to try to do that. But I have to tell you, the fact that I could go into meetings with these people and know that my point of view was one that I held, that was right for me, that was true for me, that was core for me, that was not reactive in an immature way of saying, you did this and you did that and I hate you for that, but you did this and you did that And I have to tell you that that's not what we're even talking about here. You're putting up smoke and mirrors, and I'm going to tell you the core of this. And no, I'm not accepting delivery on what you're trying to deliver to me. I'm not doing that. So when you learn to stay within yourself in an argument, instead of trying to convince somebody else that you're right, instead of convincing somebody else that they're wrong, it gives you such a lot of power. It's an unexpected amount of power that you have. And don't be surprised if the people opposite you or the person opposite you gets triggered by that, because a fight is really it's like a control play. It's like it's like dogs fighting on the playground. You're like, who gets to win? Who gets to win? And if one of the people in it says, I'm really not interested in playing that particular game, the other person who wants to play the game really badly is probably going to get upset. So the way that you win an argument every single time, whether or not you actually get that person to agree with you or to hear you, is for you to deepen your knowing that what you think, what you feel, what you've analyzed, what you've gone through to come to the core of it, that is real for you. That is your real, true, authentic, baseline, peaceful truth. You know that you've hit your core when you are at peace with it, and you know that there are no more questions you can ask yourself. Let me give you a really cool example. So when I went when I went out west, I lived out west in California, and I was starting a business, and I wanted to get some business cards done. And so I went to this card shop around UC Berkeley, and I gave them my design. This is before we had, like, Google and like a whole lot of this stuff that we have now, online submissions. We didn't have all that stuff. You had to like go to the place and do your thing. So I went to the place and did my thing, and like, I don't know, a week later, the guy called, said, your cards are ready. And I'm like, oh, fabulous, business cards. Yeah, baby. So I go over there, and the guy gives me my cards, and I usually have like a straight line that like, here's my name, and then there's like a bunch of stuff under it. That's usually what I do. I find that it helps the eye. And that line was just barely crooked. And I was like, oh man, no, I can't pay for this. I can't use these. It's not right. And the guy behind the counter, he was spitting. He was so mad. He was kind of yelling at me. And ordinarily, especially at that time in my life, I would have normally been scared and like put off, and I would have been like, oh, okay, well, here's my money. Like, I would have been that disempowered. But something happened that day. I don't even know what, but something happened that day. And it was that I was just watching him, listening to him yell at me. And this simple statement of truth came out of my mouth. And it was, you should have called me to let me proof it before you printed it. And because my energy was so clean, because there was no like emotion on this clinging to the sides of it. There was no like, F you. There was none of that stuff in it. It was just, you should have called me before you printed them. I actually, by saying that, I actually stopped him in the middle of a sentence. It was the coolest thing ever. It's not like I was trying to do that. I was just like, here's the fact. And he just stopped right in the middle of a sentence, and he looked at me like he didn't have anything to say. And I said, sorry, and I walked out. And I was like, who did that? Oh my God, I just won an argument. And it was this kind of winning. It was the kind of winning where you say, here's my truth, here's my core, here's my baseline. And I don't have to hate you in order to hold my baseline. That's bigger than I can tell you. I do not have to hate on you in order to have my set of boundaries. I just have to hold my freaking boundaries. So if I'm in a relationship with somebody who's treating me badly, what I need to be reaching for is, what is my baseline? And how do I hold that line? Not, how do I win my argument, get you to see that you're hurting me, and get you to apologize. I can't control you. I can't win arguments that way. You cannot win arguments that way. If you are winning arguments, let me tell you what you're doing is you are controlling, and you are controlling the narrative, and you are controlling that person, and it's not creating the results that you probably want if you think about it. We don't really love fighting. What we really love is to get people to really get us and to really be with us, and for us to be a unit. We're fighting for that, but the fight, when we really get it, the fight is about, where do I stand without argument within myself? Where do I stand within myself where I don't have to hate on you in order to have this knowledge of me? And it is a freaky place to stand at first, because it feels alone, but actually, if you let yourself breathe into it, it is filled with incredible energy, and it is filled with incredible self-confidence, and it is filled with possibility and amazing strength. It's amazing. So I encourage you to stop trying to win arguments. And if you do have that opportunity, if you have the time, the buffer between when you're triggered and when you have to talk, to spend that time letting yourself go through the emotions, like if you have somebody who's being completely unreasonable and cruel to you and all of that kind of thing, and let yourself let off that steam. Talk to a friend, that horrible person, I hate that, just let yourself, get through that. And then the next thing that really is the core of your work is, what's happening here? How am I being triggered to not stand in my truth? Because the truth is just centering and calming as hell. It just is. So if I know that you are really challenging me, you're saying, God, you're really a terrible artist, and I know that I love my art. You can say that, and I can stand here all day long and go, you're welcome to your opinion, because I know within myself what I know for me. I don't have to convince you. We have to let go of convincing that person. I don't have to convince you. I think I'm a brilliant freaking artist. I love my stuff. I think it's crazy good. It really doesn't matter to me if anybody else doesn't like it, because it's not how I make my living. So that takes one big piece off of it, right? It's so important that we stop trying to win arguments as a way of getting ourselves to understand that we're right. It doesn't actually take another person agreeing for us to know that we're right. Whew. Kind of heavy stuff, but freeing, unbelievably freeing. If you have any questions about this, any thoughts about this, please put it into the comments area there. At any point when you see this, whether it's right now or it's later when you watch the replay, because this is critical stuff. This is stuff that makes peace. This is stuff that helps you regain your power, or maybe even find it for the first time. Because taking back our power does not mean taking back control over other people. It's why I no longer use the word power to mean the people who have sort of the highest seats in the land, or who have the most money, or have the most influence. All they have is the most influence. They do not have power. Real power is something else entirely. They have control. They have influence, yes. And we've got to stop subscribing to that way of being, because it does not serve us. I mean, just popped into my head, how many arguments have there been in human history? I mean, good God, right? Has any of it helped? No. Oh, thank you. I don't see who that is, by the way, because unless you push, like, click on StreamYard or whatever, but thank you. Yeah, there's like no way for us to make sure that the other person believes us, sees us, agrees with us. And our getting like stuck there leaves us imbalanced. It leaves us disempowered. It leaves us at their mercy. Oh my God, it leaves us at their mercy. Wouldn't you rather be at your own mercy? Yeah, it's much better to just know where you stand. Just go, hey, okay, so how do you know where you stand? All right, so let's say I'm in a situation and somebody has really triggered me, and I'm like, I need to think about that. Let me get back to you. And they go, okay. So if you're lucky enough to have that kind of situation where somebody doesn't want to engage you instantly, take that opportunity and go away and think about it. As I'm sitting with it, I'm coming up with every argument. And it's not hard. Your head is really good at this already. You may just not have noticed it. So I'm like, God damn it, that was unfair, completely unfair. And my head goes, I don't know, maybe not according to her. I'm like, what the hell do you mean not according to her? Well, she's got a point of view. I'm like, her point of view doesn't matter to how I feel about me. You have to start working with yourself and saying, how am I going to get to the place where I know what I know, what I know? How am I going to get to the place where there's so little argument or no argument that I can just state my truth? I can just state there's like nothing else I have left but my truth. Those moments are golden. And I'll tell you, even if you don't get to that core moment, the exercise of working with yourself to go there, of listening to the objections, of addressing the objections that your head brings up, is a priceless practice. I've done it for decades. It is priceless. And yes, still sometimes I get so triggered that all I can do is spew obscenities. You betcha. And that's when I'll go to my friend Angie and I'll say, hey, I'm really ticked. And she's so calm about things, but she also is not against emotion, which is a big thing also. So she's like, she'll be there with me in the emotion, but she also will tell me the truth. She will kind of help me winnow away some of the emotion, some of the heat, so that I can see what the core is. So, for instance, those people who wanted me out of their business earlier this year, I would go to her and I'd say, oh, I'm going to kick their butt. And she would say to me, they're playing a game that you don't even play. Like, why bother? Like, don't even spend your energy. Just sit back and watch. Just sit back and watch. And by God, she was right. And I listened to her. So I was able to just say, you know what? I'm watching these people and they're lying. They're actually lying. They're playing this weird lying game. And they want me to feel upset and impacted by it, which I have. And they want me to feel offended and they want me to quit. And I'm like, I'm not quitting. I need the money. I can't just quit, not because you're saying stupid things about me that you've made up and you're twisting everything. No. And knowing that truth, knowing that was the game in in progress, and that I had the ability to say, I'm really not interested in playing this game. It's offensive and it's stupid. Allowed me to be able to stay, to make money, I still had to deal with the emotions. I still was offended as hell, but I didn't have to engage. And I could always feel them like tugging on me energetically, trying to get me to engage. And it was like, you're playing a stupid game. So that's, those sort of elements of deciding to win arguments in a very, very different way. Winning meaning being able to either have a conversation with this person I'm in conflict with so that it brought the best to both of us, holding that space. There are different linguistic things, different energetic things, different physical things you can do. But being able to basically hold that space, that's one way that I win, because then even if we don't agree, I've still gotten what I needed out of that conversation. What I need out of conversation with people, I need to feel that I'm being heard. I do not need to be agreed with. It's fun when I'm agreed with. I love it. But I don't have to have that as much as I need to know that I have been deeply heard. Not just listened to. Oh, yeah, I heard you. Now let me tell you what I think. No, really, really, really received. I have to know that in order to feel peaceful. And if that person's not going to give me that, I know this is not, I know a lot of things. I know this is not like a deep relationship. I know that this is not a game I want to play. I know that my options are limited now about how I can have this conversation. I know certain things I can say and how I can say them and how much I can open, how much I can't open. I know a lot of things when that baseline of mine is not met. But I go into each disagreement with some version of, let me see if there's a way we can do this so we both come out of it the better for it, so that we discover something together. Instead of, who's going to win? God, that's boring. Ugh, the same game every freaking time. Seriously? When you hold open the option of, I wonder how this is going to work. I wonder what we'll each bring to this collaborative, organic process. And maybe we'll end up with new ideas about how to communicate, or maybe we'll deepen our friendship, or maybe I'll find out something amazing about myself. That's a different game. That's a game with freaking meat on its bones. That's a game I want to play. Now, if I can't play that game with the person I'm speaking with, then that sort of chalice that I have been holding of energy and intent, I withdraw that. And then all of my energy comes here and I am with myself. And I have to know my truths. I have to honor my feelings as I feel them. So I'm not going to should on myself. I'm not going to go, God, Lori, you're not supposed to be angry. God, Lori, you're not supposed to be so mean. Or if I hear that or I feel that, I have to be observing it rather than letting it toss me all over the room. You know what I'm saying? So I have to be with me, and I have to be self-protective in this way. I have to have some boundaries around what I will or will not permit. I have to know, like I do know, if somebody wants to start swearing at me, if somebody wants to go that base, I'm out. I'm like, bye-bye. Not into violence, and that is violence. I'm out. But if they want to talk later and they want to apologize for going there and we can have a conversation, then I will find out if this is the kind of person who always does this and I just can't be around them, or if this was because of a certain thing. Communication is like this. It's not a black and white situation. It is so much more beautiful, deep, tragic sometimes. You know how you come to somebody with an open heart and they cannot receive you? That's when it feels tragic. Communication is the most beautiful untaught art form that we have as human beings. And it is beyond magical when we just get out of the combative mode and into the discovery mode. The discovery mode together, the discovery mode at home with yourself, it becomes a whole different thing. It becomes a canvas instead of a game. And it is composed of things like, can you hold that space for discovery? How do you use words in a way that you can, to the best of your ability, express what you are saying? How do you deal with your own sort of reactive stuff so that you learn when you are shooting on somebody else? and how do you begin to do something different so that that will just diffuse? How are you coming across to people? Are you coming across that way even though you don't may not want to or may not know that you do? Or are you coming across, like a little shrinking violet and you wonder why people are always walking on you? There's so much to communication. So that's the physical of it, the energy of it. It's so funny. When I have worked in corporations, the one thing that I'm aware of, that I am, that seems to trigger people who are in control, people who have the influence over me, is that I don't shrink. Like I'm aware that I square my shoulders. I sit tall. I don't sit rigid, like, oh, I dare you to mess with me, no. But I know who I am. And for people who love to exercise control and influence and to lay stuff on you in order to make you do or feel or be what they want you to, they don't like that. That really triggers them. So no matter how much I would do the other sort of what I call the prophylactic techniques of like pulling back my energy or being quiet, it just didn't work because my energy was like, I'm here and I know things and I'm smart and I'm not going to pretend that I'm less than you. Because I don't see us that way. I don't see me as less than you just because you have a different job title and make tons more money than me. I don't see that. But they don't like that. So there's so much to communication. And when I was interviewing Colin Egglesfield in the summit, he gave that unbelievable, that just mind-blowing percentage about communication. Only 7%, not 17, not 70, 7% of our communication is verbal. Okay, if that doesn't blow your freaking mind, you are not thinking like me. You're not going, wait a minute, what else am I conveying here? And what you're conveying is energy and physicality and emotion, and your words are saying things. And oh my God, there's so much to it. It's beautiful. It's nothing to be afraid of. If you should be afraid of anything, it's of not knowing more, because it is an incredible freedom to be able to express yourself in ways that you can then, because it's sort of like silly putty. It's like, oh, this person over here is more of a science guy. He's like, he likes facts. He's not into emotions. So I'm going to be very matter of fact in what I say to him. I'm not going to talk about feelings at all. And I'm going to give him facts, and I'm going to give it in a very specific way. I'm not going to use a whole lot of words, and then he will know what I know. And that guy gets really comfortable with me because I've just spoken his emotional language. It's what I call, and I coined the term, emotional linguistics. Who is that person? What is the emotional place that you can talk to him or her through? Because that's where you're going to have an actual conversation. And if you would just want a conversation, want a connection, want a result of the unknown magnificence of what communication is capable of delivering, rather than the simplistic schoolyard bully thing of who's going to win, then you're going to find a quality in your life that you never thought possible. And you're going to find that people respond to you so positively. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, there you go. I don't think that winning arguments is what people think it is. And now that you know that, I would be most interested to hear from you, either in the chat or if you want to send me an email to let me know what you think of it, how you think this might change how you look at the disagreements that you have with people. If there are certain phrases or if there are certain attitudes that you think you could use as a result of this little tiny workshop. And you are welcome to ask any questions you want in the chat. I can see it right here. Before we go, it's just, I'm so glad to be able to start to share this kind of information with you. I've been studying communication, power in communication, elements of communication, and it's all been a huge study for me and a huge delight. And when you can really like emotionally express without people backing away from you, then you've really got something going on. Then you've got something going on in your personal life. You've got something going on in your business. Oh yeah, baby. And really, that's what the upcoming visibility challenge is about to a great degree. Because if you want to really show up in your life and you really want to show up in your business and have people be attracted to who you are, you're going to have to show who you are. And a lot of that is emotional, but you don't want to go on to like, oh, so when I was a child, this happened to me, like you're sucking. I mean, situationally, maybe you'll be there in some way, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being able to let that flow of emotion be there and be able to express yourself through it. It's like I've been watching a whole lot of these videos for like X Factor auditions and American Idol auditions. I'm crazy about them, and just the auditions. I really don't care about the shows so much. And watching these people come in there, and the ones that are really, really good, in my opinion, are the ones who when they sing, you feel it. When they sing, I feel it. Because it's emotion. It's not the words. I mean, lyrics are fabulous. I'm a huge fan of words, and there's so much meaning to them, and they need to be understood and studied. And, there's a lot there. But like Colin said, if you only have 7% of the information in your delivery package of your communication coming through your words, there's some, let's say 93% more of other stuff. And getting fascinated with that, and getting fascinated with showing up in ways that are not combative, in ways that are not self-blaming, in ways that are investigative and fun and fascinating. That's what the upcoming visibility challenge is about. So I'm psyched about all of this, and I really appreciate you being here with me. I really, truly do. And yeah, invite any of your friends to come to the visibility challenge. I mean, it's free. It's 5 days. Please have an amazing, amazing weekend. Take time to be with you and to honor who you are, to honor those parts of yourself that you do respect, love, and admire about yourself. Because we need that balance big time. We're really good at shooting on ourselves. Let's take some time to go, ooh, I like this about me. Ooh, I like that about me. You don't have to tell anybody, but tell yourself. Okay. Love you, and I do mean it. Bye now.